Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. Today we are going to be talking about how to communicate with your child with autism, and I'm going to give you 5 useful tips. And we're also going to be talking about intensive interaction. We're going to just have a brief overview of what that is and what it does. You can find more information out at mencap.org.uk. There's lots of information on the internet about intensive interaction and how it's really good for people with autism and also people with learning disabilities. So what is intensive interaction then? Intensive interaction is a practical approach to interact with people with learning disabilities and autism who do not find it easy to communicate or being sociable. So I'm going to give you some tips around this a little bit kind of later. The approach helps the person with a learning difficulty or learning disabilities or autism to communicate, partner, to relate better to each other and to enjoy others' company. It helps them with their communication abilities. In intensive interaction, the carer or the support worker or you as a parent, speech and language people, can actually do this really well. So when I was a support worker, we used to use intensive interaction all the time. Yeah, because the moment that they came in to the moment that they went home, it was really important that through the day we use intensive interaction. Okay, because it helps with their communication and also to connect with them as well. If you think a long time ago in the 80s and 90s, and if you read books about autism, it would say the child was in their own little world and that. And we've come so far now that we understand that actually people with autism, they do have their own kind of thoughts and stuff, and they can speak to us, and they can tell us what they want, but sometimes it's just finding out how they want to communicate to us. It might not be verbally, like in the early stages. It could well be that they're taking you or showing you is key, or using tools like Makaton or PECs. That could be a way, but intensive interaction is really good. I'm on the MenCap site, and it's got a wonderful kind of sheets in there about intensive interaction and why is intensive interaction, why do we use it, kind of thing. Intensive interaction was first developed because a group of staff was having a difficulty getting to know their students. The students with learning disabilities live in a Lonsay hospital, and I think I will spell it for you because I think it's Harperbury. It's spelled Harperbury. That's how it's spelled. And they did not have any speech or sign language communication. They did not welcome the attempt by staff to do things with them, and often turning away or pushing others. So this is kind of the history of intensive interaction. The staff felt that it was pointless to try to teach the students without the first to get to know them. Now this is really key. As parents, we know our child, but as teachers and support workers and that, if you don't know the person yet, it's very hard to connect with them. So it then goes on, so they're saying to get to know them. And social relationships started. Intensive interaction is the name they gave to this approach. They developed together over time, which is now widely in like education and like adult services. And yeah, so that was it's and that was in 1994. And the approach of intensive interaction was inspired by a psychologist, a Gary, and his last name is spelled EPHRAIM. He argued that adults with learning disabilities needed to learn the fundamentals of communication and social abilities in a natural, way, through the kind of interaction play that babies and parents do. Wow, that's interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting. This what was it? And then it goes on to say to communicate, to get to know them. How it feels to be involved. The communication partners turns in the possibility of. So it goes on and on and on. This, and I think it's really important that we know about intensive interaction, and what I'm going to give you now is some interesting. We'll go back to this fact sheet, but I want to give you some of my kind of takes on intensive interaction, some tips from my own son, Matthew, and also what I have learned kind of over the past few years. So we know what intensive interaction is. It's about getting to know the person, and interacting with them, and communication as well. So how do we do this? Well, we do this by simply to mirror them. Okay, so sometimes to connect with Matthew. Now Matthew's very close to me. He's one of the kids who loves his mummy and that, but the TV is kind of his main kind of thing. So to connect with him on a deeper level, what I do is I copy his behaviour. Okay, so I mirror him. So if he's clapping, I will clap. If he's jumping, I will jump at the same time. If he's spinning, I will spin at the same time. Yeah? And if he stops and look at me, then I stop and I look at him. And depending on his facial expressions, I will do the same. So if he's like, yeah, then I'm like, yeah. And I use his voice, and I copy his voice, because what I want to do is I want to connect with him on a deeper level. Now, I want to tell you another example of that, and that is when I was very young. I must have been about, I don't know, maybe 23, I think, maybe 22. I was working as a play worker, actually at Matthew's school, and it was a after school club, and basically there was this kid, and he came every single week, and literally I was the one who had him every single week, because no other staff member wanted to really work with him. And why was that? One, his behaviour. Just leave him in the sandpit. He's absolutely fine. Okay, so I sat, and this is what I'd done. Okay, I'm going to tell you in detail. I sat near the sandpit, and I said his name. I went, hello, and then that was it. And each week I would get closer to the sandpit. Yeah, I would have a cup of tea out there. I would just be watching him, and seeing if he would look up. Once I got to the sandpit, it was a big sandpit, and I kind of, sat on the edge. He kind of was looking at me, and so I kind of look at him, and then he went down, and then I put my head down as well. And then eventually I did get in the sandpit, and so I was in his space. Now, because I'd done this very slowly and I'd done it in a way that wasn't threatening, hi, how are you? Come on, let's go and play. Yeah. I'd done it in a very subtle way. So I was very much kind of like, no, what was it? He was very shy. I was very shy. Yeah. And what was it? If he had his head down, I would have my head down. Yeah. And I got into the sandpit one week with him because we was building that trust. Yeah, we must have trust when we are connecting. Whether you are a parent or you are a professional, we must have trust with that person. And trust is one of the things that can take time. It can take time to build up that trust. Yeah. So I built up this no trust. And literally, I got in the sandpit, and he was playing with some trucks, and I always use this example. I mean, this was like over 20 years ago, and I still remember. I mean, he's a full-grown adult now, and I was playing with him. He was lining it up, and I was kind of thinking, how do I do this? Because if I move one, he might get really like anxious and that. So I started to just play with the sand, and he kind of looked, and then he took my hand and he placed it like on the car. I was like, okay. And so I left my hand on there, and then he put his other hand like on my hand and pick it up to put it over here. So it was going from left to right and stuff. And what was interesting was that he was looking at me and smiling, and this and this formed a really great relationship. And what I love about this story is that we went from a boy who really hated really coming. He was alone, and no one wanted to work with him because of his behavioural like issues, which was down to his communication. Now, I was only 22 at this time. Okay, I was only 22. And so what happened was that every week I would be with him, because they said, oh, well, you've got such a really good relationship with him. We are going to be going out and we want you to be with him. I was like, okay, absolutely fine. And we done like clapping and stuff, on the bus. We done whatever he was doing. I mean, he did have moments whereby he would try to pull someone's hair or something, and so we would have to deal with that, and it would be kind of just pulling his arm down and saying, hey, it's okay, and just distracting him and that. And I think with someone who he trusts, what was it? He basically, his behaviour got kind of better. Unfortunately, we can't use intensity like interaction all the time. We can use it when it's appropriate and stuff. And I do think that if you overuse it, it can be one of those things where the child or a person will get used to it and they get bored. So I only use intensive interaction with like my son when it's appropriate. So if he's running about and stuff and it's like whoa and it's inside, that's not appropriate. But like if he's sitting and he's bouncing and I want to engage with him, then that would be the way that I would do it. So that brings me on to so the first tip is to mirror or copy what they are doing. So if they are clapping, you clap. The second one is to allow them to adjust. So allow them to have time. Don't just like go like that and then expect them to look at you. Okay, it will take time to do. It took me, several, weeks with a little boy who I didn't know and he didn't know me. Uh, and I mean, even with kind of Matthew, I think it was kind of like the first time I'd done intensive interaction with him was when he was. I've always kind of done it because it's a natural thing to do as a parent. What's it to copy, or because usually like a child would copy you, but in this instance, what is it? We are copying the child. So check their kind of mood. I would is a like so the first one is to allow them. What was it? To allow you to do it. So check the time. And that check their mood. So and also have like a fun. I think the fifth one. I think I've missed one, two. Yeah. So I find out what she or he likes or like dislikes. So, for example, Matthew loves his TV, okay, and I've played a game with him with certain programs, and it's the Tiggle game, and he loves being Tiggle. Like Matthew is very affectionate, and so if your child is not like that, it can be very hard if they're very distant, okay, but there are ways that you can still connect with your child by just copying what they are doing. So if they're spinning, then you spin. If they're clapping, then you clap. I know I'm going over this again, but I think it's really important that we understand. So using timing and ribbon, so like clap, 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 clap. They may even kind of copy you at certain times, yeah? So it says here in the main cap fact sheet is that using time and rhythm in interaction, this can make them like games with and this is what I do with Matthew. It's like the row your boat. Now I do this with Matthew, not every day. I used to, but he knows the game now. And I used to hold his hand and I used to go, row your boat gently down the stream. When I see a Matthew. And then I used to get my hand up and I was like, don't forget. And I used to speak in that tone. I still do now. Don't forget to. And then he would get my hand, what was it, on the wrist, and he was like, tickle, and I would tickle him. But he could a couple of years ago, no way he would allow me to do that. And he didn't know what it was about, but now he knows. So on TV, there's a Disney ghost one, and we kind of done that as well. And I tickle him. It's really fun as well. It's really, really fun. And you can like take turns. So you can do so if you had like a drum or something, it depends on your child. So let's see. This was a good one. Jumping. And I had a child once at after school club, and he used to love to jump. And so I used to jump with him. And then what was it? He used to watch me, and I used to jump and jump again. And it used to be like I used to use words like 1, 2, 3, jump. And it was absolutely great to see them to do that. Absolutely love the whole intensive like interaction and that. And I think so many people miss the point like of it. And I think we just need to kind of it's simple things as well. It's simple things like we can look at a person and they might be looking at you like this, and if you are listening on the podcast, I'm tilting my head, so Matthew might tilt his head and I might tilt my head, and we might be looking at each other, even though he's probably looking past my eyes and that, but I'm just looking at him. And it can be really like intense and that. And also what Matthew loves me doing is touching his face and he will rub my hand like up and down his face. Now this is sensory, but I have got him to do it to me as well, which is, again, it's that thing of, no, yes, I will like touch your face and rub it up and down, Matthew, but also I want that in return. So I have done that with him lots and lots of times. And I remember, was it doing, I had this one young lad once, and he was non-verbal when he was basically always jumping, and he was very intense as well. So he would be rocking in front of you, what was it, really fast and stuff. And so what I used to do, and many staff used to do at college, was actually rock like him. And that's how we built up the the relationship and that, and then we could get him to do stuff and that. So yeah, just looking at the notes here. It says take the it's basically, here we go. So I want to kind of give you information which is kind of useful. And one of the things that I would say is that if you can record like your own like intensive interaction, like sometimes it's just like you just do it, like as a parent we just do it. But I know that having the calendar just like in the position, so you can look back and you can kind of go, oh yeah, I done this, and then he done that, but I didn't do this, and and then next time you can kind of like improve. I mean, there's no wrong or right way to do intensive interaction. You just basically do it, and it's wonders for kind of helping our kids to enjoy being around us. It's a form of play. It's getting into their world, if you want to call that, but it's actually making them like think, oh yeah, mummy's really like enjoying what I'm doing. And it could be like clapping, it could be jumping. I use jumping a lot because that's what my son does, but it could be anything. It could be like going and then you go no, it's all that kind of thing, yeah. Or it could be that they sound is like and then you go and it's not mick taking or nothing. You have you know your child, yeah. You know when he's unhappy. Don't do it when they are unhappy, yeah. Do it when they are in a happyish kind of mood, yeah. And and as I said, if they don't kind of like you doing it at first, then just leave it. Treat the things the person does as if this is communication. I think this is really important. We read social meanings into like actions, even when this meaning isn't clear. In this way, the person responds, and I think this is really good kind of like information. Go to www.mencap.org, then like write in intensive interaction, because there's so much information here. I just can't read it all because it would take me forever to read. So there's it says here, using intensive interaction approach means using basically it's a style that we use, yeah. We do this at any time and in any place. So for example, like you can do it when they are going to bed, in a bath, yeah. It doesn't really matter. It's most effective through when we do two things together. So first, when we seize like the opportunity as they arise during kind of care tasks, quiet moments, when the person is in the mood for being sociable. I think that's really important. They need to be in the mood. Second, when we plan to set aside some time each day, there is nothing else to do or to be done, or even to distract like us from giving full attention. So what I would do, and what I have done with Matthew, is that I use intensive interaction when he's like in his room away. I mean, I have done it with like the TV, of course, but it's much more better results if he was in his room, because then I can like we can play games and stuff like that. There's lots of research on this as well, lots and lots of research, guys. So intensive interaction is based research showing the style of interaction that is connected with the effective learning for infants, and that is in the Western culture. The use of the style in intensive interaction with people with learning disability has been positive, and that is no, what was it? It says here the person name in 1996. A study showed that the particular development behaviours and help to sustain interaction. So like looking, smiling, and also vocalizing as well. Develop their ability to engage in interaction and learn the initial social contact. So to kind of like end this video, because it has gone on for quite a long time and this podcast has gone on, but I wanted to kind of make sure that you understand what is intensive interaction, and also the tips and how we can connect with our kids a lot more. So with Matthew, for example, like my son, he has come on leaps and bounds since he's been going to a special needs like a school who uses this approach. They use intensive like interaction a lot of the time. It's a very natural thing for them to do. And Matthew, his behaviour has he's never really had any behavioural problems. But what I will say is that he's become more sociable since using intensive like interaction, say there, and not being left to do his own thing. Because if we leave our kids to do their own thing all the time, of course they are going to be feeling like alone and stuff, so I think it's important that we do set a time whereby we can do it, or you just on the spur of a moment go, oh yeah, he's bouncing, I'm gonna bounce. And it could be anywhere. It could be in the car. I know the car, it's probably not perfect, but if you are not driving and you are a passionate, for example, I mean, when my husband is driving and Matthew's going, then I mean it's much more high pitch, and that then I will copy him, and it's quite annoying for like my daughter and my husband, but he's having fun. I'm interacting with him. But you can do that at any point, really, as long as it's safe to do so. So it's used for people with autism and learning disabilities and severe complex, needs as well. It's used many times, within special needs like schools and colleges, and in care homes as well. So I hope you have enjoyed this video and also podcast. What I would recommend is that you can go to this site, like I said, and I don't know whether you have heard, I might put the link in the description of YouTube and also the podcast, but there's many further readings that you can have if you want to read about intensive interaction. There's some useful kind of books and that on, and the blind, the BILD has got some information on their site as well, and also MenCap. So I would definitely go on here and see their reading list. I mean, they are quite kind of like say old kind of books and that, but yeah. Right then, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you are watching this on YouTube, and don't forget to hit that follow button if you are listening to this podcast on Spotify or whichever platform you are listening from. So take care, and I will see you next time. And if you have got any questions, please do get in contact with like myself, and I'd be happy to like answer them. And also, can I just say that what I would love to do is a Zoom call with people. So if you are listening to this on the podcast or watching this on YouTube or say Facebook or something, would you like to join me like on a Zoom call where we can go over intensive like interaction, and maybe you have a question about it, and we can say discuss it. Anyway, in the meantime, have a wonderful week, people, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye for now.